Hello, I'm Penny Thornton and welcome to my astrology channel. On this video, I'm going to be looking at December 2020 for Sagittarius. Now, as you may know, I like to do things in a very astrological way, which means I actually like to show you a chart so that you can see where the moon and the sun and all the planets are. Because you'll know I'm not speaking hocus pocus, I'm actually looking at something, but also, of course, that serves a great reminder to me so that I know where I am. So let me start by bringing my little chart up, and here it goes. And I will disappear into the corner and come back to you at the end. So you can see here's the circle of the horoscope, the zodiac ring, and here are the symbols of the planets, not written this time. So you'll see there's a great collection of planets here in this segment of the circle, and that's the sign of Sagittarius and your next door neighbor sign of Aquarius, of Capricorn and Aquarius here. So there's quite a concentration of planets, and that often makes for a very intense kind of period. So if even in the last month or so you've been feeling as though every day has got a whole lot of stuff in it, what else is there to be thrown at me? Well, it's probably because things look a little like this. But the important thing here is your sign, Sagittarius, in which Mercury will be there from the beginning of the month and Venus will come about the middle of the month, and I'll be talking about that in a second. But I want to start with the main event in December, and that's on the 14th, and it's the total solar eclipse in Sagittarius. We've been waiting all year for this, and it's really important. It's important to everybody. The total solar eclipse is somewhere in everybody's chart, but of course, it's particularly important to Sagittarians. It marks the beginning of a very big new chapter, a chapter that opens perhaps even as early as December with significant events that show you straight off the bat 2021 is going to be very different. It may even be the first step of the rest of my life, so to speak. Now, if you have a birthday on the 14th or on the 13th or the 15th, then this total solar eclipse is going to have or put its imprint on your year ahead. It's going to be a very pioneering year. You're going to be doing lots of new things. And at the end of it, you'll be in a new space. Now, of course, I mean that in terms of a psychological space, but you may find yourself in a new location. You may be working in different ways, and you may even be with a new person, because that total solar eclipse does have a reference to relationships, as I'll explain shortly. Now, if you're born just anywhere in Sagittarius, the same principle is there, that this is the opening of a new chapter. And the opening of that new chapter will be signified by a special event. And that event can happen anytime during the next 6 months, the period from the 14th of December through to the 26th of May, 2021. Now, the important thing, or one of the important things to remember about a solar eclipse, is there's always something in shadow. So the events at the time of the eclipse, and we're looking at this mid-December period, there's something hidden, something you don't know about, you can't see, you can't tell. But in the 6 months to follow, you will surely find out. And that will appear to be a fated development, something that really affects your course. Now, I talk about relationships here because for a lot of Sagittarians, it's something to do with a relationship, this total solar eclipse. You're beginning a new relationship. You're meeting someone new in the very near future, if not around that time. Or you could be deciding to make a relationship more significant by notching it up, maybe getting engaged, moving in together, even getting married. But this total solar eclipse has a relationship with the lunar eclipse that happened on the 30th of November. And that ended a chapter. So that might have coincided with the breakup of a relationship or the end of a job or a move to a different place. It could be all sorts of things. But when we're looking at it astrologically, we're thinking about tying up loose ends, closing things off, putting things into a box, because what's going to come up now is a new phase of your life. Now, let's go back to the beginning again and have a little look at the early part of December. In the beginning of December, Mercury enters your sign. And I always say when this happens, you've got the power of speech because Mercury is about communication. But what's going to be important here is the connection that Mercury is going to make with this planet here, which is Neptune. It's going to make a connection on the 13th of December. And before that, the Sun in your sign is also going to make a connection with Neptune. Now, Neptune is a very magical kind of influence. It can make life seem magical. And when we fall in love, we've often got Neptune strongly in our charts. And when we also have a spiritual experience, or we're expanded by there's something else in our lives, it's Neptune that gives us access to that higher part of ourselves. But also Neptune is very treacherous and deceptive, and we often get led up the garden path by Neptune. And so it is important to remember, whenever your birthday as a Sagittarian, that in the first 13 to maybe even 17 days of December, there are lies and rumors and things you can't really trust. You need to look for the facts. And although I don't want to burst your balloon, if you're having the most wonderful time of your life and everything is wonderful, because you should enjoy that to the full, I think it's a little bit more pertinent to those of you who feel that life is not shaping up at all, and that maybe you feel you've lost your way somehow. And I think especially if you've got a birthday round about that 9th of December, losing the way, losing the plot are often statements that we make when we've got a strong Neptune influence. The thing to remember here is that you're in a time of transition. And you can't know what's ahead or how you feel about it or where exactly you are until you get to where you're going. So you require patience and trust, observation, and all those things that you might do as a deep sea explorer, not knowing quite where you're going to end up. And of course, Neptune is to do with the sea, so it's a good analogy. But particularly if you have a birthday around that time, or you're feeling that you're extra worried or extra anxious about things, remind yourself not to listen to the voice of your fears or the voice of your hopes. Now, I did say that Venus would also be in Sagittarius from the 15th, and that does make December quite a romantic month for many, many Sagittarians. It's certainly the time to go out and meet new people, even if you have to do that virtually because of lockdowns. Because when we have Venus in our sign, it's kind of like having a nice little pink light on ourselves. We look our best selves. And of course, that also applies if you're job hunting or you're seeking to do something that requires the support of other people. From the 15th, you're much more likely to get what you're looking for because of the blessing of Venus in your sign. Now, as we come a little bit further forward, we come to the 17th of December, Saturn's arrival in Aquarius. 2 days later, on the 19th of December, Jupiter arrives in Aquarius too. And they're both going to be here for a pretty long time. Jupiter's going to work its way through Aquarius, your third house, for next year. Saturn's going to be there for 2 years plus, and they mean different things. The moon also accompanies Saturn as it's entering Aquarius on the 17th. So there really is a sense, and I want you to kind of observe the things that are happening in your life, what you're thinking about, the events that happen on the world stage, because this really is a big searchlight into the effect of Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn, of course, is the great builder of the planets, constructs things, but also makes you work extremely hard at trying to build those structures. Jupiter is a great gift. We expand, good things happen. We grow in all sorts of ways thanks to Jupiter. And it's one of the things that I think, if it's not in your mind right now, it's this idea of learning a new thing, taking up a course in something, acquiring extra skills. And also this idea of your life being a journey is very apparent when we have Jupiter moving through this area of the horoscope, which is the third house of your chart. Next year could be a year when you travel widely, not necessarily by bus, plane, or train, because of course there are travel restrictions and will be really until probably the middle of next year. But you can travel in the mind virtually, and it's going to be a great year to use social media and to get a platform for your ideas, to write, to publish, to promote. These are all useful things when you've got planets like these in this area. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which happens on the 21st as the Sun moves into Capricorn, this is very good for business. It's very good for money. And so if you want to make some important money moves or some big decisions that will affect your material world, that early part of the week of the 21st is definitely the time to do it. Now, another thing that we need to look for in that same week is that Mars here in Aries, that is your fellow fire sign, and Mars often does you a lot of favors here because it makes you more active and dynamic and gives you a lot of get up and go. But unfortunately, Mars has been hooked up to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto for a good part of the last 6 months. So it may have felt that you're ready to get up and go, but can you get up and go? No, you can't. There's always something in the way. Now you reach the last point, really, of this kind of sense of obstruction to your energies on the 23rd of December. That's when Mars meets up with Pluto. Looked at in a positive way, this gives you a tremendous amount of energy to get rid of stuff you don't need, whether that means all the clutter in the attic, or whether it means detoxing your life, whether we're looking at friendships or habits, whatever it may be. The danger in Mars-Pluto aspects is that sometimes we run into a confrontation or we take a risk that probably isn't recommended. So I would advise you as we go through the week of the 21st that if something irritates you or somebody's behaving badly and you want to say something, you want to stand up for what you believe in or what you think, don't. Probably because you might burn a bridge and you may need that bridge. Now, having said that, if something else does go belly up as we approach, that Christmas week, that may be really, when we think about the total solar eclipse opening a new chapter, that Mars-Pluto ending is part of that process. You can't go forward into a new stage of life with all the old scenery, of the previous act on there. Things have to be let go of. And sometimes you get a choice in that, and at other times you don't. Things just happen. But keep your eyes on that total solar eclipse because that is so important. And by the way, although you should never look at a solar eclipse unless you've got some special filters to look through it, it is a beautiful thing to see. And if you're in South Africa or South America, you may well be able to see it. But whether you can see it or not, the symbolism is there for all Sagittarians. This is a new chapter. So I'm going to come back into the room just to say goodbye to you. And I want to repeat what I said when I began my video here, is that it's such an important month, Sagittarius. And, coming into December and having that idea, you'll be much more on the alert for opportunities, and also for situations that are potentially perhaps a little destructive or not going in the right direction, because we can do a lot to manage our circumstances once we've got a map like astrology to take with us. We know not to push people too far in that mid to latter part of December, but we also know to look for the small opportunity where it may be, because that could turn out to be really one of the biggest opportunities of your life. So thank you for watching, and I'll be here in another month's time looking at January, the first year of 2021, and of course on my twice monthly videos, which tend to look at things in a little bit more astrological detail, based initially on the new moon, full moon cycle. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.